Hi, hello, this is Alan Turner, the one they call the caveman, in his cave as usual here in the beautiful, wonderful, historical old city of Jerusalem. I want to say good morning to you in Hebrew, Boker Tov, and I'm going to give you a language I've never known anything about it until this last week or two, when my neighbor here, Sammy, who's a wonderful, wonderful 90-year-old coming up 91. He taught me how to say good morning in Aramaic. Now, many of you will not realize that Aramaic is the language that we know that Jesus, Yeshua, spoke when he was on earth 2,000 years ago. That was his native tongue. So I say to you, Saprok Brika, there you go. That's about all I know in Aramaic, but it is the oldest language in the world. And I just thank you for joining me this morning on this new YouTube video. The channel's entitled From Israel with Love, and I am absolutely humbled and amazed at how many of you viewed the last video that I put up about 9 or 10 days ago. Just under 1,000 people. I can't believe it. The highest figure I had till then was about 71, I think. We've got 89 subscribers, and if you're not a subscriber, I hope and pray that you will be, and then YouTube will inform you as to when I put up a new video. So thank you for all you faithful viewers who viewed the last video, and man, if we get that for this video, I will be stunned. But anyhow, I'm just trusting God every time and commit the channel and the videos to the Lord and ask him to do what he wants to do. I just wanted to mention this book to you. Some of you have been writing to me and saying, Alan, have you written a book? Yes, I've written 2 actually. This I have a copy of. I don't have a hard copy of my other subject called Broken Wings Fly Higher. It's more a psychology book, really, on going through pain and hurt and being resurrected and restored by the Lord. But this was my first book, written some years ago now. Is God finished with Israel? Well, the answer to that, of course, is an obvious no. But I wrote about it, and it's by Zulon Press, printed by Zulon Press in Florida. So if you want a copy, you could write to me, or you can write directly to Zulon Press in Florida. This morning I'm entitled this video, Zionism and Little Israel Wins Every War. Why? The two are in one sense related, in another sense they're not related. And I just want you to know that most of my videos are geared to Christian people or Judeo-Christian people who perhaps have never thought in their Christian life or in their church life that Israel was or is important, where I want to tell you it is. And it was in the Bible, it has been historically, and it is today extremely important. And someone wrote to me and said, well, Alan, what is Zionism? So I thought I'd just give you a little definition. Many of you watching, you know what Zionism is, so you can switch off now and go have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. But Zionism is a Jewish nationalist movement that emerged in the late 19th century with the goal of establishing and supporting a Jewish homeland in what was then, and wrongfully I might add, was then called Palestine. And of course many in the world today still want to call it Palestine, a name coined by the Romans to present Israel's chief enemy, the Philistines, and put it before the Jewish people just to plague them and to hurt them. And that's how Palestine emerged. So there never was a Palestine. Anti-Semitism at the end of the 19th century was rising in Central and Eastern Europe. Well, what's new? What is new? It's been around for 3,000 years and it's still around, and it's more prominent today probably in our world than it's ever been. So the movement was secular and nationalistic rather than primarily religious. Zionism emphasized the Jewish people as a nation with an historical connection to the land of Israel. That's Zionism. And the term derives from Mount Zion, or Zion as it's pronounced, I think, in Hebrew. And that is just behind me here, just about half a mile from where my home is in the old city, is Mount Zion in Jerusalem. And it symbolized the Jewish historical and spiritual homeland. And that's Zionism. Well, Zionism is abused and misunderstood today. You know, when you look at the ultra-Orthodox Jews that are here in the old city in predominance, all wearing their black, everything's in black, and they wear these big furry Russian Cossack-style hats, even in 90 degrees heat. I don't know how they do it, but they do. And, you know, many of these ultra-Orthodox, they don't believe in the state of Israel, the country of Israel, that the political world does today. They just believe in Judaism, just as a religion. So you see, we've got all these differences here, and you'll have most of these differences here in Jerusalem. I was listening to a comment. Well, actually, I saw it in my computer from Erdogan, the Prime Minister of Turkey, who's never been a friend of Israel's and still isn't. And now Donald Trump has become pally-pally with him. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. But he made this comment just less than 2 weeks ago. He said, Zionism is a genocidal ideology. I thought that was hilarious coming from the Prime Minister of Turkey, whose own nation, the Ottoman Empire, the Turkish Empire, in 1915 murdered 2,000 Armenian Christians. Yeah, what's that if it's not genocide? And his foreign minister 2 weeks ago said, Zionism is a burden that humanity can no longer bear. Well, let me tell you, humanity has borne it for 2,000 years, and humanity might have to bear it for another 2,000 years, because Israel's here to stay. It ain't, using an Americanism, it ain't going away. Little Israel, no bigger than the state of New Jersey, no bigger than the United Kingdom. Little Israel has won every single war it's being provoked into. They've been in 7 wars. They've had 2 Palestinian intifadas, which is an uprising of the Palestinian people within the land, and they've been in a series of armed conflicts. I'm going to give you a little potted history quickly, okay? For those of you that don't know, in 1948, May the 14th, the United Nations declared Palestine, as it was then known, to be the new homeland for the Jewish people. And within 24 to 48 hours, 5 Arab nations came against this little land who had no weapons and they had no ammunition. They had prongs and forks and spades and I don't know what else in basic weaponry, and they fought against these Arab nations and beat them. They came against Israel as soon as the United Nations declared this land of Israel to belong to the Jewish people. That war went on for another 2 years. In the 1950s and 60s, when I was just a young kid, Israel engaged against Arab guerrillas who entered into the land of Israel very easily in those days, murdering civilians and soldiers, and our cemeteries here in Israel are filled with their victims. In 1956, in October, some of you might remember it, some of you won't, the Suez Crisis, very similar situation to what's happening today in the Strait of Hormuz. and Egypt wanted to nationalize the Suez Canal. And Israel was engaged in a major war with Egypt. In 1967, we have the famous Six-Day War, when Israel went up against Arab nations and greatly expanded its territory by winning that war within 6 days. But still, the land that Israel has, even today, is far removed from what God described that land to be in the Old Testament, what the Jews call the Tanakh. We call it the Old Testament. God promised them more than she has, but Israel is very, very happy with what she has. I don't know how God feels about that. But the biggest miracle was the capture in 1967 of the Jerusalem Old City, the place where I live now. And after 2,000 years of being in Gentile hands, you remember the words of the Lord Jesus when he said in Luke 21 verses 2 and 4 that Jerusalem will be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. Then in 1967, 1970, there was what we call the War of Attrition. And Israel had to safeguard the border against Sinai, against the Egyptian people, who, by the way, the nation of Egypt is an ally, as is Jordan today, of Israel. And they are two borders that we have here. And the frontiers remained intact, since the Six-Day War. Now, in 1973, we had the Yom Kippur War. I almost forgot that. Forgive me. The holiest day of the year, when Jerusalem families were either all in the synagogue or all at home quietly. I remember being here one Yom Kippur, I think in 1977. And, you could go through the city and all you would hear would be the birds singing or a distant dog barking. And that was it, because nobody drove. No cars, no motorbikes, no nothing. It was silence. And on the holiest day of the year, Israel's enemies decided that was when they would attack Israel. Well, Israel won that war too. Since then, Israel has been engaged against Palestinian insurgency in South Lebanon. The PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization, relocated to South Lebanon from Jordan so that they could more easily attack our towns here in the north of Israel. And Israel's defense escalated into what became the Lebanese War in 1982. And Israel's government ordered the invasion in response to an assassination attempt against the Israeli ambassador to the United Kingdom, a man by the name of Shlomo Argov. The war resulted in the expulsion of the PLO from Lebanon and created an Israeli security zone in southern Lebanon. And then there was a conflict with South Lebanon in 1982, which lasted right the way through till the year 2000, 20 years against the terrorist organization Hezbollah. And that animosity and hostility still exists today. And all along, Hezbollah, Hamas in Gaza, another terrorist organization, they have been backed by Iran. Iran has been behind it all. Then there was the first Intifada in the West Bank. And that's the name that is used for what we understand from the Bible to be Judea and Samaria. Then there was the second Intifada. Then there was a Lebanese war. Then there was a Gaza war in 2008. And I don't want to bore you, so I'm going to stop right now without going into any more details. Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2008, and they left it in the hands of Hamas. And Hamas just produced one massive terrorist army to come against Israel, which eventually led to the tragedy and the massacre of October the 7th, 2023, when 1,200 of our civilians and soldiers were murdered, butchered, raped. The atrocities, I heard of them, I read of them, and I wouldn't even mention them here on a video. You know, my time's up, and I've given you some history, and forgive me, those of you who know this very well and know it off by heart, forgive me. But I want to close with something very simple, very basic. So no Bible exposition in this video, except to say that in Psalm 122 verse 6, as many of you know well, God says, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you be secure. And the word in the King James Version is prosper. May those who love you prosper. The word is often translated as prosper. Here, the word used is security. May you be secure. And in the original Hebrew, the word is peace. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you be in peace. May those who love you prosper. May those who love you be secure. And I want to close with this one comment. People often say to me, well, you know, do they have to fight the Palestinian terrorist groups? Does this have to go on and on and on? The war with Iran and Hezbollah and Hamas. And I want to say this. If the Palestinian terrorist groups and Iran were to lay down their arms, there would be no war. But if Israel were to lay down her arms, there would be no more Israel. Think about it. Okay, I forgot to tell you about this shirt. Look at this. This is the first time I've come on my channel, you know, in a t-shirt. But my lady friend, who's also my editor, Sophia, she bought me this online, and that's the name of my football team. Now, don't, you know, you don't have to feel sorry for me because I support Southampton. I've supported them now for 60 odd years, and I'm not going to stop. But anyhow, I just wanted you to see what a lovely shirt it is. I probably won't wear a t-shirt again on the channel, but there you are. Now you know which team I support in England. Okay, World Cup final this weekend. Is England going to be there? I don't know. I just don't know. But anyhow, I haven't seen one game, and I love football because I don't have a TV, and I don't want a TV. So I haven't seen one World Cup game, and I won't see the final either. Anyhow, if you watch it, enjoy, and thank you very much for joining me on this new channel, on this new video today. Bless you. God give you peace as you pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Until next time.